right, and welcome to another episode of Sparring Sessions. My name's Dax, and you might be thinking to yourself, Dax, this is a UFC week, UFC 313 big pay-per-view, but this doesn't say UFC 313 on the thumbnail on the episode title, and you'd be right. We're going to preview UFC Fight Pass Invitational 10 here, a grappling event, a little series I wanted to start, highlighting some of the more regional cards, some other sports, grappling. Maybe we'll get into boxing, not power slap though. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I wanted to bring in my favorite grappler, a guy I've known for coming up on 5-6 years now, something like that. Félix, how are you doing, Félix?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing phenomenal. Yeah, can you give an intro to the fans? Obviously, you and I have known each other for a long time. I know a lot of your background, but can you give an intro to the fans on both your interest in MMA and grappling and kind of why I brought you on for this special episode?
For sure. So I started martial arts at a very young age, more traditional styles. Now for a little over 4 years, I believe, I've been training MMA, grappling, only no-gi, and wrestling. So I'm the proud owner of a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well as a blue belt in Brazilian Luta Livre. So I'm kind of a grappling nerd as well as an MMA nerd. So I think that's the reason I'm on here today.
I love it. Yeah, and I mean, I'll ask you a grappling question too, just to kind of bring us into the event. What is your, we're covering Fight Pass Invitational. There's a ton of great grappling events out there. What is your favorite event to watch? I know you participate in a few, but to watch.
Historically, I'd say ADCC because it's had some of the greatest brackets, some of the greatest matchups in grappling ever. But if we're talking like active, like at the moment in active promotions, I think CGI is doing bigger and better things than ADCC currently. I think it's more of a show. There's more pageantry, and I think it's just a lot more fun now.
I agree, and I think it'll do way more for the casual fan, bring a lot more people into the sport of grappling, especially from MMA. They had Luke Rockhold. Did they have Pat Downey? They had a wrestler, right?
Was Jason Nolf in CGI?
Maybe. It was some wrestler.
We love the crossovers.
He lost pretty quickly. That's all I remember. But yeah, coming back to this event we're covering here, UFC Fight Pass Invitational 10. The name, it's right there in the name. This is the UFC. This is Fight Pass. It's the UFC pretty much throwing their weight and money into some grappling here. This card, they've got a pretty big name headlining. Nicky Rod, as you might know him, is grappling Victor Hugo, a guy, not the French novelist Victor Hugo,
not the novelist.
Is a younger guy, a guy who I know grappling, not like you, but I know a little bit. I've heard of him, but besides that, co-main event Renato Canuto versus Oliver Taza. Besides that, you have a few names that you might know, but Félix, this series is just kind of for the expert to talk. So I'm gonna ask you to kick us off. What do you think of the main event, Nicky Rod, Hugo?
I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I think it's a great main event. Even though the original main event we were supposed to get, Adele Fornerino versus Fionn Davis, fell through because Fionn got a shoulder injury. So that's a shame because it was a great matchup. But I do like my Natty King. I do like my $1 Million Man. He's always entertaining. I think it's a great matchup. It's actually the fourth matchup of the pair, and Victor Hugo won all first 3 by decision so far. Both participated in CGI. Of course, Nicky Rod won all of his matches by a rear naked choke. And Victor Hugo got taken out of the first round by Lucas Kennard with a heel hook, I believe.
Yep.
Both of the guys have a super stellar record on the Fight Pass Invitational. Hugo won both of his matches by submission, submitting Big Dan Manasoyu and Roosevelt Sosa, which are both great wins. Rodriguez has one loss in 7 appearances so far, which is to Gordon Ryan, and which was a very close match.
Yeah.
They're both very versatile heavyweights, very technical. I don't believe Victor Hugo is going to want to stand with Nicky Rod because his wrestling is just that good. So I think he's going to be playing guard, and Nicky's going to be where he wants to be, which is passing. My prediction, if we want to do that kind of thing, would be Nicky Rod via rear naked choke.
Interesting. You're picking. I don't think we have odds for this, but I'd call that an upset. I mean, you said it yourself. Victor Hugo won 3 of the last 4. I'd only found 1. I didn't know about the other 2. But yeah, Victor Hugo losing in the first round of Craig Jones Invitational was a big deal. Big upset, at least from the people I follow. They said it was a big upset, so I believed them. So yeah, I like it. Rear naked choke, definitely a little more entertaining. If I'll say this, if Nicky Rod wins from the tape I've seen, it's going to be a little more of an entertaining match than a Victor Hugo decision. But yeah, awesome. So that's the main event, and that's really the only fight I wanted to talk about. So I'll ask you my next question. Besides the main event, what is your favorite match on the card?
I think the most entertaining match is going to be the co-main event, which is also a rematch from ADCC 2019. So Taza is a fellow Montrealer, so I do have to pull for him. I have to root for him. He trained at TriStar, I believe. He currently trains at New Wave. He won his last FPI outing via points, but he's got a really, really solid opponent in Canudo, who won all 3 of his outings, 2 via heel hook. He heel hooked PJ Barch and Aaron Wilson, and he beat Jason Nolf via points. I think both have an explosive style, lots of submission attempts. They usually keep a high pace, and they're super technical grapplers. So I think it's going to be a great match.
Jason Nolf, I love Jason Nolf, not as a person, let me tell you that, but a wrestler. Him and Bo Nickel were teammates at Penn State. I'm a big college wrestling guy. That was the peak of Penn State wrestling. I mean, they've always been great, but yeah, I didn't expect him to win that match, but I was surprised he kind of stuck in it. This isn't a Jason Nolf. Jason Nolf is not on this card, but any chance I get to talk about Penn State wrestling or college wrestling, I'll do it. So yeah, now there's a few names on here that even I know, not knowing that many names. Helena Crevar, Ronaldo Souza Jr., Brianna St. Marie, if that's the one I'm thinking of. I think I know her from a few matches. Even I'm not going to say who because I don't want to dox myself, but my jiu-jitsu coach is on this card. But yeah, so who is we're strictly going to stick with one grappler. It could be somebody we've talked about already, main or co-main, or somebody completely different. Who is your favorite? I don't want to say prospect, favorite grappler on the card?
Besides Nicky Rod, who is near and dear to my heart, I'd have to say Brianna St. Marie. She's also got a great matchup coming up on the card. She's also a fellow Montrealer, so full disclaimer, I support her 100%. She used to train a Brazilian top team. Nowadays, she seems to train all over the world, which is, I think, generally a very good thing to diversify the game, get a lot of different looks. Elizabeth Clay and Brianna St. Marie are currently 1-1 against another. Clay won via points at who's number 120, I think, and St. Marie submitted her a few months ago at the IBJJF Nogi Worlds. So this is a rubber match. I believe Brianna St. Marie is going to win. I'm going to say via armbar because her guard is amazing.
Interesting. I like it. And now I got one last question for you, Felix. This is a little more meta, a little less about this actual event, but this one, I believe that we haven't confirmed this, but if we're looking at any of the other Fight Pass Invitationals, this is just going to be on a mat, normal ADCC style where you can go off the edge, grapple a little bit out. But we've seen a lot of different cage mat styles recently. One will just have it wherever they're having their event, whether it's in a ring, like a cage, like a boxing ring or a cage, an MMA cage. I believe they even had like a what was it? A circle cage and an octagon cage at one point. We were talking CJI. They have the pit. Obviously, Karate Combat has the pit too. What do you think, entertainment wise, is the best mat style?
I'm gonna go by elimination. I think it's not the elevated platform because it's too easy to run off the mat and the action has to be stopped and reset, and some people use that to escape submissions or takedown attempts. So I'm not a fan of that. I think it would be a tie between either a cage or the pit, like in CJI, because first off, it contains the action. There's no like going out of bounds and resetting, and it forces the action in some regards. Like you have to wall wrestle. It brings a whole new dimension. We saw in CGI people hit or in the pit, like Craig Jones hit a flying triangle in the pit. So it brings new dimensions that usually people don't train for, or they have to have specific preparation for that. So I think it's very interesting, keeps the game dynamic, and it forces creativity.
I like it. I really do like the pit. It's changing things up. I think B Team has a pit now, or a pit wall.
A lot of gyms are starting to have them, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I will love not watching a discard, but when Craig Jones Invitational 2 comes around, I'll love it then. And we'll have to have you on for that. For those hardcores, if you're watching Karate Combat on a Friday night like I was, first off, please, this is at myself too, find a life, please. And also, we saw with Kyle Braulio and Brendan Allen, there's some interesting, they got stuck in a corner. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to have you on for the next time, definitely the next CJI, but next time we get a big grappling event like this too, I'll have to just do little focus cards on things our MMA audience might not know. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Felix. It was great chatting with you.
Of course, my pleasure. Anytime.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for listening. Again, this is Thursday, March 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern on Fight Pass. $10 a month if you don't have it. And yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.